In September of 2025, Bo Bichette said that his ultimate goal was to play his entire career with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and win championships with the Blue Jays. But the Jays prioritized other offseason moves ahead of bringing him back, and in January, Bichette signed a massive 3-year, $126 million deal with the New York Mets, ending his career with the Blue Jays. Bo and the Mets will come to Toronto for a 3-game series on June 29th through July 1st, and Bichette will surely receive a touching tribute video and a massive standing ovation from the fan base that he grew up in front of in Toronto. But how is he going to be remembered in this city? Heading into 2019, there wasn't much for Blue Jays fans to be excited about other than prospect rankings. The core from the 2015 and 16 playoff runs had moved on, and the hype around the team had died back down to pre-2015 levels as the organization searched for direction. The Jays were coming off back-to-back fourth-place finishes in the AL East and were destined for a similar season in 2019, with Justin Smoak as the face of their lineup and a soon-to-be-traded Marcus Stroman as their best pitcher. But there was light at the end of the tunnel for Jays fans. At the top of just about any prospect list you could find was Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the son of a Hall of Famer, blue-chip, third-base prospect with generational power and an elite approach that hit .381 across AA and AAA as a teenager, was due to come up and make his debut at some point in 2019. But throughout Vlad Jr.'s journey to the big leagues, a shortstop prospect just as important to the future of the Blue Jays was making a name for himself as Vladdy's partner in crime. While Vladdy was headlining all of the prospect lists and generating all of the excitement, Bo Bichette was quietly developing into a star. Bichette was a second-round draft pick of the Jays in 2016, and he opened up 2019 as the 11th ranked prospect according to MLB. But at just 21 years old, he wasn't expected to be ready for a big league debut until 2020. But when the trade deadline rolled around and the Blue Jays found themselves trading away Eric Sogard to the Tampa Bay Rays, they decided it was time to let their shortstop of the future take the big league job for a spin. Bo met the Blue Jays in Kansas City on July 29, 2019, and picked up his first major league hit on the second pitch he saw.
Ball base hit for Bo Bichette on the second big league pitch he sees.
From the moment he stepped into the box for the first time as a Blue Jay, all Bo Bichette did was hit. It didn't take long for Bichette to figure out he belonged in the big leagues. That first hit started an 11-game hit streak, which included 8 multi-hit games and his first 4 big league homers.
High drive, deep left field, and way gone.
And it wasn't just Bo's hot start that turned him into an instant fan favorite. He brought a certain swag to the team with his cool demeanor and luxurious hair that flowed out of the back of his hat. And despite the blazing start to his big league career, the lasting memory of Bo Bichette's rookie season, and the moment that many baseball fans recognize as Bo Bichette having arrived, took place in Dodger Stadium late on an August night. The matchup was highly anticipated going into it, the veteran, future Hall of Famer Clayton Kershaw against a young, up-and-coming Blue Jays team. Bichette appeared in 748 regular season games as a Blue Jay, and it's easy to forget about so many of those, even ones where he had great performances. But when you take a future Hall of Famer deep twice in the same game as a rookie, people notice. It was moments like that one that really propelled Bo Bichette to stardom so early in his career. He always seemed to have the most impressive performances when the lights were brightest, even if he looked really silly on a couple of Cooperstown curveballs in between homers.
There's the curveball. look at the smile on Bichette's face.
He sees it and he buckles.
And he got it with another curveball, this time down in the dirt. Bo Bichette just got a lesson in Clayton Kershaw 101 right there.
Bichette finished his rookie season hitting .311 with a .930 OPS across 212 plate appearances at just 21 years old. He didn't garner any attention for Rookie of the Year because he debuted so late in the season, but the important thing was that it looked like between Bichette and Guerrero Jr., with Cavan Biggio, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Danny Jansen, and Teoscar Hernández in place for years to come, the Blue Jays had the start of a promising position player core. On the back of that position player core, and with the big free agent addition of Hyunjin Ryu leading the rotation, the Jays snapped a 3-year playoff drought as a wildcard team in 2020. Bichette ended up missing about a month of the shortened season, which meant he only appeared in 29 games. But in those games, Bichette continued to be productive at the top of the lineup, finishing with a .301 average and a .120 weighted runs created plus. The Jays would end up losing in 2 straight games to the eventual American League champion Tampa Bay Rays, but a new era of winning Blue Jays baseball was officially underway, with Bichette and Guerrero Jr. as the faces of it. The 2021 Blue Jays were one of the most exciting teams in baseball. They supplemented that exciting young core with the big free agent signings like George Springer and Marcus Semien, and Robbie Ray dominated en route to winning the AL Cy Young. Those 2021 Jays had the second best offense in MLB, according to weighted runs created plus. Most fans probably remember Vlad hitting 48 homers and finishing second place in AL MVP voting behind Shohei Ohtani, or Marcus Semien setting the second base single-season home run record with 45 bombs of his own and finishing one spot behind Vlad. It was the best season of Blue Jays baseball in more than half a decade. But for the first 4 months of the season, the Jays had one of the biggest disadvantages in baseball. Due to COVID restrictions from the Canadian government, the Jays were forced to use their minor league facilities as their home ballparks. They spent their first 2 months of home games using their single-A field in Dunedin before moving to their triple-A field in Buffalo until the end of July. It was heartbreaking for so many Jays fans that would normally spend their summer nights at Rogers Center cheering on the Jays that they could only watch their team from their couches. From their final home game in 2019 to July 30th, 2021, the Toronto Blue Jays did not play a single game in Toronto. It was 670 excruciating days that a baseball team was taken away from its fans and was forced to live life on the road, never being allowed to enjoy the comforts of home. So you can imagine the emotion from both the fans and the players when the Jays were finally able to get back to where they belong and move back to the Rogers Center, back home. Throughout his career, the fans and the media have always had a hard time reading Bichette. He never had that same wear your heart on your sleeve disposition as his co-star Vladdy, and a lot of breath was wasted debating whether or not he truly enjoyed being a Toronto Blue Jay. That's why it meant so much when Bo went to the Players Tribune and posted an article titled, "Toronto, We're Home." He spoke about how much he missed the city and playing for the fans during the team's time away, and how excited he was to bring playoff moments like Jose Bautista's iconic bat flip back to the Rogers Center. Bo's words were an emotional read for Jays fans at the time, and looking back on them now, after his departure hits just as hard. He backed up his words with a 2-run bomb in their first game back, and propelled the Jays to a 6-4 win in their first game on home turf in nearly 2 full years. Aside from his heartwarming tribute to Toronto, 2021 is also the year that Bo Bichette proved he was a true star. It's not really fair to call Bichette's 2021 season a breakout because he was so good in the 2 years before, but if the baseball world wasn't bought into his game just yet, it definitely was now. Over 690 plate appearances, Bichette hit .298 with an .828 OPS, which was good for a 122 weighted runs created plus. He led the American League in hits with 191, matched a career-high 29 homers, cashed 102 runs batted in, and even added 25 stolen bases. The Blue Jays won 91 games, and the move back home helped them finish the season as the hottest team in the sport, going 22-9 in September. Their season ended up coming down to the final day, but they'd end up missing the playoffs by a single game after the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees both won their final games, giving them 92 wins apiece. The way that season ended was heartbreaking, but at just 23 years old, Bichette was already one of the league's best offensive shortstops, and the Jays were poised to be a playoff threat for years to come. Heading into the 2022 season, excitement around the Blue Jays was as high as it had been for an opening day since 2016. Fans were finally allowed back in the ballpark at full force, and the Jays were viewed as a lock to make the playoffs and contend for the World Series. But the road was a little bit rockier than expected. Semien had departed for Texas in free agency, Vladdy didn't quite follow up his MVP caliber season from the year before, and Bichette himself was very disappointing. After a full 5 months of baseball, heading into September, the Jays found themselves in a third wildcard spot, just 1.5 games up on the Baltimore Orioles heading into September, far short of their expectations at the start of the season. Bichette was hitting just .260 with a .725 OPS and had a weighted runs created plus of just 107. These are not bad numbers, but his 2.3 FWAR was 13th among primary shortstops through August 31st. He was behind guys like Jorge Mateo and Ahmed Rosario. And there were some serious questions about whether or not Bo was actually the player we thought he'd proved himself to be the year before, because without above average defense at shortstop and the ability to be the well above league average hitter we thought he was, his value to the team really just was not very high. But then the calendar flipped, and the month Blue Jays fans refer to as September rolled around. It was one of the most impressive sustained offensive performances I can remember, and it came right when his team needed it the most. Bo was a man on fire in September and October of 2022, picking up 54 hits in 133 at-bats, good for a .406 average. His 1.105 OPS led shortstops that month, and his .218 weighted runs created plus was the second best mark in the majors behind only the eventual AL MVP Aaron Judge. He set the Blue Jays franchise record for hits in a month, and they all seemed to come in the biggest moments of the game. Bichette more than doubled his F4 in the last month of the season as it skyrocketed from that mediocre 2.3 to 4.8 in just 32 games. That blazing month got his weighted runs created plus up to 129 by the end of the season, 7 points higher than it was the year before, and Bichette led the American League in hits for the second season in a row. Toronto went 22-11 over that span and were able to clinch the top wildcard spot in the American League, returning to the playoffs in a full season for the first time since 2016, although the eventual collapse against the Seattle Mariners on home turf would lead to some big organizational decisions heading into 2023. It was a busy offseason for Ross Atkins and the Blue Jays. It started with Teoscar Hernández in the last year of his contract getting shipped to Seattle for Eric Swanson, and eventually saw Dalton Varsho come in exchange for Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. It was the start of the Blue Jays emphasizing defense and the details of the game rather than pure offensive upside. But a sneaky important part of the offseason was that the Blue Jays bought out Bo Bichette's arbitration years with a 3-year extension. See, as much as 2019 through 2025 will be remembered as the Vladdy and Bo era to Blue Jays fans, so much of it was spent debating which of the two was actually the better player and if the Jays would be able to keep one or both past their rookie contracts. And this deal was looked at as a major indication that the Blue Jays might prefer Bichette to Guerrero long term. And Bichette made good on that new contract early on, because in 2023 he continued to do exactly what he had done the previous 2 seasons. Although it was a disappointing end to the season for his team, Bo hit .306 with an .814 OPS and put together his 3rd straight 20-homer season, earning his 2nd All-Star appearance. But some adversity was right around the corner for Bo and the Blue Jays. After back-to-back playoff appearances without a win, and 3 playoff appearances without a win in the Vladdy and Bo era, the fan base was getting restless for some postseason success, and the pressure was on for the Jays heading into 2024. By now, you know how this story ends, and that the playoff victories were just around the corner. But based on how 2024 went, you can't blame the people who are calling for the removal of the front office or for a full-scale teardown and rebuild. There are a lot of things to blame for that 74-win, last-place season, and Bo Bichette's inability to stay on the field and his poor performance when he did play was definitely a big one. 2024 was the worst record of a Jays team with Bo Bichette since his rookie season, and it was by far Bo's worst season as an individual. He suited up for just 81 games, hit just .225, and only managed 4 homers. When it was all said and done, he put up just 0.3 F4 and a 70 weighted runs created plus. That's 30% below league average. The season was a complete write-off for both Bo and the Jays on the field, but when Bichette responded to a question from a San Francisco reporter about what he liked about the city and if he'd be willing to play there, Bichette seemed eager to emphasize how much he wanted to play for a winner and that the Giants would be a fit if he were choosing a team. Some saw this as flirting with the idea of being traded at the deadline, as he was only under contract for 1 more season. As we know, Bichette was not traded, and his bounce-back season was essential to the Jays winning their first division title in a decade and winning their first pennant in more than 3 decades. I could have made this whole video about Bo Bichette's 2025. His 134 weighted runs created plus was his best as a Blue Jay. He hit .311 with just a 14.5% strikeout rate, which was the lowest of his career by more than 5 points. There's a serious case to be made that 2025 was the best offensive season of Bo's career, and that's without even getting into some of his biggest moments. The Jays were just 26-28 before playing on May 28th, and the offense was limping through the start of the season. They'd hit the 5th least homers in the sport and had just a 94 team weighted runs created plus. The whole team needed a spark, and after being held scoreless through 8 innings by Tyler Mahle and the Texas Rangers, it looked like they were en route to falling 3 games below 500. That is, until Bo Bichette came off the bench to pinch hit for Michael Stefanik in the top of the 9th inning with 2 outs and Ernie Clement on second base. Bo swung and hit a wall-scraping homer over the left field fence, lifting the Jays to a much-needed win, which many claim as the moment the 2025 Blue Jays hit their stride. The win sparked a 5-game win streak and a 12-2 stretch which the Jays never looked back from. After the clutch Bichette homer on May 28th through the end of the season, the Blue Jays had the best offense in baseball by weighted runs created plus, F4, and most importantly, runs scored. They'd finished the season on a 67-40 run, a .626 winning percentage, which is a 101 win pace over a full season. I can't tell you honestly that the Blue Jays' magical 2025 season came because of that moment in Texas, but I also can't tell you that it would have happened without it. The answer to the question in the title of this video is a tough one to answer, because for as loved as he was in Toronto, Bichette was far from a perfect player. The obvious thing to point to is that his shortstop defense always left a little bit of something to be desired. He wasn't a good base runner, and when he wasn't hitting, he didn't bring much else to the table. But when the Jays needed him, he was always there to answer the call. Fangraph's definition of high leverage situations is complicated, but I can tell you that throughout his career, in those high leverage situations is when Bo is at his best. You can argue all you want that clutch is not a repeatable skill, but I'll just keep pointing at Bichette's career 143 weighted runs created plus and 888 OPS in those situations. There is no better example to point to than his performance in the 2025 World Series, in which he played after more than a month of missing games due to a knee injury. On one knee, and on the biggest stage baseball has to offer, Bo Bichette went 8 for 23 with 6 runs batted in, good for a .348 batting average. But the lasting memory of Bo Bichette in a Blue Jays uniform will always be him hitting a go-ahead 3-run home run off of Shohei Ohtani in Game 7. A swing that was painfully close to being the swing that clinched the Blue Jays their 3rd World Series championship. You'll be seeing fans wearing number 11 Bo Bichette jerseys at the Rogers Center for years to come, and when the New York Mets visit the Toronto Blue Jays in June this season, the standing ovation Bichette receives will be deafening. Alrighty, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this longer video. A lot of work went into it, a lot of research and remembering my favorite personal Bo Bichette moments and what exactly he meant to this team for so long. It wasn't easy to capture his entire Blue Jays career in one video, but I hope that you think I did a good job. And if you think I did do a good job, leave the video a like, comment, what are your favorite Bo Bichette moments? What are you going to miss the most about having him on the team? And of course, please subscribe. We have a lot of interesting content coming out. Pitchers and catchers are reporting in just less than 2 weeks, so the content is going to start picking up on the channel. I'm super excited about the Jays heading into 2026. So if you're a baseball fan or a Jays fan, subscribe to the channel, and we will talk to you guys next time. See you later.